What's good, everybody? It's the Clown with Cap Show. NFL Week 17. Really some sad news in the Monday Night Football game. Bills safety Damar Hamlin suffered a cardiac arrest on the field. They had to do a CPR. It's really a sad story. He's in the hospital right now. Sending prayers to him and his family. Yes, his life is more important than the game. But I think a lot of people forget, especially people who've never played football in their lives before, don't understand that you are risking your life. You really are. You're risking your life. You can get paralyzed at any moment. You can get blindsided. Anything can happen in NFL, and especially in the game of football, where it's like you're risking your life. I mean, you're risking your body, your mind. You know, we've seen ex-NFL players that go crazy with CTE. I mean, this is part of the game, which is hard to say, and it's just true. But, you know, sending prayers to Damar Hamlin, man, his life is more important than the game. I'm glad they suspended this game. I don't know what's going to happen next between the Bengals and the Bills, because this was a very important game for both teams, especially in the playoff race that's coming up. But I think for Damar Hamlin, dude, it's definitely sad news. I mean, we saw the hit. He did get trucked. I think it was by Tyler Boyd. He got right back up to his feet, and then as soon as he got right back to his feet, he fell down. It was just like, holy cow, what just happened? And they had the ambulance on the field, and that's when I knew it was very serious in just the magnitude of the game and everything. I just, you know, prayers go out to him. People have already donated a lot of money to his foundation, which is great. You know, prayers up. You know, I hope he's okay. Hopefully we see him back on the football field in the future, but I just think a lot of people don't understand what NFL players are still human beings, dude. They still have feelings. They still go through stuff that, you know, the regular human being goes through, you know, but it's just, now it's just like, you know, it kind of is like a number, right? You know, to the NFL, to all the commissioners out there, you know, these guys are just numbers to them. You know, to the big whales. It's kind of messed up to say, but it's just true. You know, it's just part of the game, and football is a violent sport. If you never played football, then you probably can't relate. You can't relate to late hits, you know, getting hit out of bounds, or, you know, somebody interception and the play's going the opposite way and you just get hit out of nowhere because you didn't see it coming. You know, and that's just, but it wasn't in this case scenario, but that's what can happen in football. It's a very, very violent sport, and really, you could die on the field. And that's just the caution and the price you pay to become, you know, at this top of the level NFL player. I mean, it's just sad to say, but, you know, it's sad. It really is, but prayers up to Damar Hamlin and his family. Hopefully he'll be okay, and I do think the Bills and the Bengals will eventually play this game eventually down the road before the playoffs, but, you know, prayers out to Damar Hamlin and his family. And then we have my Indianapolis Colts go to New York Giants and really get blown out. It was a sad story, 38-10, and it was one of them things where it's like, yes, we do know that the Colts are trash. You know, they're 4-11-1. Right now, I think they're the 5th pick of the 2023 NFL draft this year, so that's good news for the Colts. On the flip side is Nick Foles got hurt, only 81 yards passing and an interception. It was bad, dude. It was bad all around. I wouldn't be surprised if the Colts lose their last game of their season at home against the Houston Texans. They'll probably end up blowing it. They probably will. They'll probably end up blowing that. But, you know, Daniel Jones looked like Mike Vick this game. 91 yards rushing and 2 rushing touchdowns. 177 yards passing and 2 touchdown passing. We just made Daniel Jones look like Eli Manning mixed in with some Michael Vick. It was just like, how are we doing this, man? Daniel Jones, of all quarterbacks, making him look good like this? Like, man, you know, shout out to the Giants. They clinch a playoff spot. That's all that matters right now. So, you know, they're in the playoffs, you know, and we see some of these teams that are making the playoffs now, like the Giants, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where we're just like, how? You know what I'm saying? Like, this year they played a lot of terrible games, but somehow they got through adversity, and now they're in. Shout out to the New York Giants. My Indianapolis Colts, they're done for till about August this year. And then, like I said, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beating the Carolina Panthers. This was my worst pick all weekend. I went against the Bucs. I went against the Bucs not because of Tom Brady and the GOAT, because how they've been playing this whole year. You know, so inconsistent, really bad games. You know, a lot of games that have come back in the fourth quarter. That's just typical GOAT stuff. And I won't ever go against Tom Brady in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers ever. But I just think why I picked against them was because the Bucks, and really their defense wasn't performing well either. They were giving up big plays, so I just thought Carolina was a hotter team. That's why I went Carolina, but this was definitely the worst pick all weekend. But, shout out to the Bucks. Tom Brady, 432 yards passing with 3 touchdowns. He balled out. Mike Evans, 207 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns. I mean, this is what we wanted to see all year, right? We wanted to see Mike Evans and Tom Brady be on the same page and really just be an iconic duo. We haven't seen that all year up until this game. And let me tell you, I think nobody wants to see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the playoffs. Why do I say that? Yes, they've had some terrible games, but if they get hot at the right time, just like I think right now what's going on with Tom Brady, they clinched the NFC South. I think it's very dangerous. You don't want to see Tom Brady in the playoffs, dude, let alone if he runs deep into the Super Bowl. I do think this is last year Tom Brady will play in the NFL. I'll be surprised if he comes back, this training camp. But I think right now the Bucs are a scary, scary team for anybody. The Carolina Panthers, they're out. Sam Darnold, he had a pretty good game. 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 341 yards passing. DJ Moore, 117 yards receiving and a touchdown for Carolina, but it wasn't enough. I think Tom Brady right now, they're locked in. And their defense for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are stepping up finally. It's coming around playoff time right now where it's like, hey, bro, you guys got it. You guys can't miss tackles. You can't do this wrong. You can't do that wrong. So I think overall Tampa Bay, dude, they're coming on at the right time. Can they continue to win? And I think what they're doing right now is the right thing of starting Tom Brady the last week. You could only get better. And we've seen Tampa Bay and Tom Brady just be off with the receivers' chemistry with Chris Godwin. These guys, Leonard Fournette, I think they need to start, and Tampa Bay needs to get hot at the right time to make it in the playoffs. Let me tell you, the Dallas Cowboys don't want to see Tampa Bay in the playoffs. Let me tell you, but a huge win by the Tampa Bay. They're in. They clinched the NFC South. Shout out to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then we got the Atlanta Falcons beating the Arizona Cardinals. I win Atlanta. They didn't cover this spread, but they won. They won, and shout out to Atlanta right now. I just think, shout out to Young-Ho Koo. He was my fantasy kicker all year. Hit the game-winning field goal. Shout out to Koo, man. He's a dog. I just think overall, looking at these teams, Arizona and Atlanta, they're kind of in the rebuild stage right now where it's like, all right, we need to rebuild for the future, continue to get better, and make the playoffs because we know both teams are out. They're out of the playoffs. They're both young, so I think Atlanta and Arizona will be good in the future, but just not this year. But shout out to Atlanta Falcons beating the Arizona Cardinals. And then we got the Lions beating the Chicago Bears. This was one of the easiest picks all week. Lions at 6. I took that. Jared Goff, 255 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. Jamal Williams, 144 yards rushing and a touchdown. DeAndre Swift, 78 yards rushing and a touchdown with 39 yards receiving. I think Detroit Lions right now, they need Seattle Seahawks to lose, and they need to beat Green Bay on the last week to make the playoffs. So there's a shot for the Detroit Lions. Who would have thought that? You kind of control your destiny in a way where it's like you got to beat Green Bay, but you need some help as well. You need Seattle Seahawks to lose. So I think for Detroit Lions right now, it's like, hey, man, we got a shot. To where it's like in the past where it's like, Detroit Lions are already out this week. They're done. They've been out of the playoffs so many years. So I think this year with Jared Goff, he's been playing great. So I think Green Bay, if they think they're just going to host the Detroit Lions and run them over, they're in for a treat here. Jared Goff's been having a great year. Detroit Lions have been having a great year, and I think they have something to prove here. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Detroit Lions upset Green Bay Packers the last week of the NFL, so that's going to be interesting, but a huge win by the Detroit Lions over the Chicago Bears. And for the Bears' sake, it's like, for Justin Fields, there's a lot of upside, right? And I think he needs about 70 yards to pass Lamar's single-season rushing record. Only 3 quarterbacks have done that. Justin Fields, Michael Vick, and Lamar Jackson have rushed for over 1,000 yards in one season, dude. So only 3 quarterbacks, and Justin Fields joins those quarterbacks with Lamar and Mike Vick. So this is huge for Chicago Bears. I think for the Bears, you got to draft players that are going to make Justin Fields better and the Chicago Bears organization better to really make it to the playoffs and the Super Bowl. That's what you're playing for. So I think the Bears have a lot of bright side moving on in the future, but the Lions win. Shout out to the Detroit Lions. And then we got the Kansas City Chiefs beating the Denver Broncos. Kansas City, dude, Patrick Mahomes owns Denver Broncos. Patrick Mahomes, 328 yards passing with 3 touchdowns and a pick. McKinnon, he had his 5th receiving touchdown in 5 consecutive games. That's an NFL record. Man, I'm telling you what, I think Kansas City right now, the way they're playing, they're going to be very, very dangerous. And a lot of teams do not want to see Kansas City in the playoffs because you got Patrick Mahomes who does that magic, right? Who extends the play, who just has that mentality where it's like, I'm never going to give up, and really, I think he does the best at that, of scrambling out, extending the plays down the field and making huge plays. And that's 101 Patrick Mahomes. So shout out to the Kansas City Chiefs and Denver. They're 4-12 this year. Terrible year for Russell Wilson. I thought they were going to be, vice versa, 12-4 right now. I thought the Denver Broncos would be in the playoffs with Russell Wilson when they got him over the offseason in 2022. It was like, oh, okay, they're going to be nice this year. They're going to make the playoffs, be a solid wild card team. No, they're a terrible team. And I'm looking at Russell Wilson and thinking, how did he fall off so freaking much, dude? How did this freaking happen? I don't even know. 222 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 pick. It's not Russell Wilson like we saw in Seattle. It's a disaster right now. I don't know what's going to happen, but Denver, they're done, dude. But shout out to the Kansas City Chiefs. They continue to win, and right now they're at number 1 seed. If the playoffs were today, they'd be getting the first round bye, but shout out to the Kansas City Chiefs. And then we got the New England Patriots beating the Miami Dolphins. This one surprised me. I went Miami. I thought for sure Miami would finally get back in that win column, but they're on a 5-game losing streak. We saw Teddy Bridgewater get hurt. Tua was out with another concussion. It's just all bad for Miami. And right now, Miami, they need a lot of help. They've lost 5 games in a row, and I'm looking at the head coach and saying, what's going on? What fell off here? Was it Tua, or, what was it? I just think for Miami, dude, it's bad. Shout out to the Patriots right now. Mac Jones, 203 yards passing with 2 touchdowns. I mean, he had a good game. Thornton, 60 yards receiving and a touchdown for the Patriots. And Duggar's pick 6 really what helped the Patriots. Shout out to Duggar. That pick 6 really changed the game. But I just think for Miami right now, they're on the outside looking in. It's just like, how did they do this? How did you guys lose 5 games in a row? How did you guys blow it against the Green Bay Packers, when Tua had that terrible game? It's just, it's part of the NFL, and I think Miami, they have a lot of question marks coming into Week 17, dude. It's going to be, one of them things, or it's into Week 18, it's going to be one of them things where it's like, what's going to happen? What is going to happen with the Dolphins? What a fall off. But shout out to the New England Patriots and Coach Bill Belichick. What a year this year it's been for coaching. For the talent he has right now, not a lot, which, he's in the playoff contention. So shout out to Coach Bill Belichick. And then we got the New Orleans Saints outsetting the Philadelphia Eagles. I thought Philly would definitely for sure win this game without Jalen Hurts. I thought they just need 1 win to get that first round bye. I think that's huge. And I think for the Saints winning this game, it's just like, wow. And it really goes to show you that Jalen Hurts, how much valuable he is for Philly, dude. It's just like, man. And we saw Gardner Minshew throw a late pick 6, which really sealed the deal. Devontae Smith, 115 yards receiving, but with Philly without Jalen Hurts, they're going to lose, So Jalen Hurts needs to come back with that right shoulder strain. I think he will be back the last week of the NFL season, but for the Saints, shout out to Taysom Hill, 46 yards rushing and a touchdown. Andy Dalton, 204 yards passing and a pick, but they got the job done. They won 20-10 in an ugly win. Shout out to the Saints. I did not see this coming, but for Philly, you need Jalen Hurts back. You need the confidence back because their confidence right now of 2 straight losses is not really looking nice right now for Philly. You need Jalen Hurts back, and I think Jalen Hurts understands that, hey, I got to come back to the troops. I got to come back the last game of the season, finish it out with a W, and get a first-round bye. A first-round bye in the NFL playoffs is huge, so I think Philly, we're going to see Jalen Hurts back. I think that's huge, but, huge win by the New Orleans Saints. And then we got the Cleveland Browns beating the Washington Commanders. I thought for sure Washington would win this game, but I was definitely wrong. Why did I bet on Washington? Because of the run game, but I didn't solely bet on Carson Wentz, but we know Carson Wentz is a trash quarterback, and I'm looking at the head coach thinking, why did you even start Carson Wentz? You just kind of gave up on Taylor Heineke. I did not agree with that, and we saw Carson Wentz, 3 interceptions this game. I mean, a terrible quarterback, a bust. Brian Robinson Jr., 87 yards rushing. But the Browns, and this is where we saw classic Deshaun Watson here, 169 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. I mean, that's typical. We saw him do that in Houston and also in Clemson. So I think Deshaun Watson is kind of getting his mojo back. And then Nick Chubb, 14 carries, 104 yards rushing. And then Amari Cooper, 105 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. I mean, the Browns look nice. And I'm looking at the Washington Commanders and thinking, why Wentz, dude? Like, Carson Wentz of all quarterbacks, dude, you're going to roll with Carson Wentz, dude? He's a terrible quarterback. He's a 3rd string at best right now. He's going to be out of the league in 5 years, so it doesn't matter. But, for Washington Commanders, they definitely blew it. But shout out to the Browns, and Deshaun Watson looked like him old self this game. So shout out to the Browns with the big win, but both teams are out of the playoffs. And then we got the Jacksonville Jaguars beating the Houston Texans. They clinched the AFC South, and they're in right now. I think a win, and they're in. They gotta win against the Tennessee Titans last game of the season. But for Jacksonville, they control their own destiny. You know, they win, they clinch the AFC South, and Trevor Lawrence has been putting on a show recently. 152 yards and a pick. They took him out, I think, in the third quarter of this game. They were up. ETN, 108 yards rushing and a touchdown. I think for the Jacksonville Jaguars, nobody wants to see Jacksonville in the playoffs either, I don't think. I mean, the way Trevor Lawrence is in the pocket, I've always believed in Trevor Lawrence. Even though he had a terrible year last year, you know, a down rookie season, but overall, I've always believed in Trevor Lawrence and said, you know what, Trevor Lawrence is the future for Jacksonville. And right now, ETN, the way he's running, some of the receivers like Zay Jones, they got some nice players on Jacksonville. So I think Jacksonville's going to beat Tennessee, and Tennessee's without Derrick Henry. So really, the Jacksonville Jaguars control their fate. Shout out to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I never thought we'd be saying that the Jacksonville Jaguars would make the playoffs this year. I don't think anybody did. You know, we go to last season, Trevor Lawrence's rookie season, and say, wow, what happened? What flipped the script here? Somebody flipped the script, and I think it was Trevor Lawrence and the new coaches coming in. So, you know, shout out to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They get it done 31-3, and the Texans, the worst team in the NFL, they're done. But shout out to the Jacksonville Jaguars, man. They get it done yet again. And then we got the San Francisco 49ers beating the Las Vegas Raiders. In San Francisco, they're on a 9-game winning streak. They're obviously the hottest team in the NFL right now. Shout out to the San Francisco 49ers. And it starts with Brock Purdy, 284 yards passing with 2 touchdowns and 1 pick. And then you got McCaffrey, 121 yards rushing and a touchdown. And then so many different players. You got George Kittle. You got Brandon on the receiver. There's just so many tools that the San Francisco 49ers do. And they come up big yet again. And we saw Taysom Gibson's interception in overtime that sealed the deal. He ran it about 50 yards back, and then they set it up for the game-winning field goal. But for San Francisco, yes, they did give up a lot of points. But overall, right now, 49ers, they found a way to win, and that's what they do, and that's what championships do. They find a way to win no matter what it is, if it's on defense, on offense, on special teams, making a huge play just like Gibson did, the interception in overtime. So any of these, it doesn't matter. I just think San Francisco 49ers, they continue to make big plays when they need it the most, and that's what they do, man. So shout out to the San Francisco 49ers and Brock Purdy, man. We got to give it up to him, dude. I think a lot of stuff's being not told where it's like, oh, he's just, in a good program, but I really think he's composed in the pocket for being the last pick of the 2022 NFL draft, dude. This kid can play, man. He's got blood in his veins. He's got ice in his veins. I'm telling you what right now, Brock Purdy is legit. I believe in the San Francisco 49ers, and I think that moving forward, they will definitely roll the dice with Brock Purdy in the playoffs. Why wouldn't they? You know, you got McCaffrey. You got so many great players on San Francisco 49ers where it's like, hey, dude, it's going to be really, really sick to see him in the playoffs. So I can't wait on a 9-game winning streak. And then you got the Raiders hitting the reset button. I don't know what they're going to do with Derek Carr. He was benched, and I'm just looking at it, man. Devontae Adams snapped off with 2 touchdowns, 153 yards receiving. But I think overall the Las Vegas Raiders, they came up short this year. They did, and I think McDaniels needs to be fired. I don't know, because they've had so much talent, the Raiders, and it's just like, how? How are they missing the playoffs this year, dude? They made it last year. They should have beat the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincy, and they blew that game by bad coaching as well, by spiking it on 1st and goal. It doesn't make sense to me. But overall, the San Francisco 49ers by far the hottest team in the NFL, dude. 9-game win streak where it's like, holy cow, dude. Shout out to the San Francisco 49ers. They continue to win. And then we got the Seattle Seahawks beating the New York Jets. The Jets are out of the playoffs. It's over for them. Mike White had a terrible game this game. 240 yards passing with 2 interceptions. And then you had Seattle Geno Smith, 183 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. And then Kenneth Walker, 133 yards rushing. And really, with Pete Carroll and the Seattle Seahawks, they have a chance to make the playoffs. They got to win the last game, and they got to have a lot of things that really going to benefit for them. So a lot of stuff has to go the Seattle Seahawks way, where it's like, what's going to happen next, dude? Are they going to catch a break? Are they going to win the last game of their season? So much stuff has to happen for the Seattle Seahawks to make the playoffs. But hey, they still have a shot. Huge win by the Seattle Seahawks. And then we got the Green Bay Packers beating the Minnesota Vikings. I thought for sure this game would be the other way around. I picked Minnesota because I thought they're the better team, but they weren't. In Green Bay, it was all Green Bay. 41-17. Aaron Rodgers, 159 yards passing and a touchdown. Aaron Jones, 111 yards rushing, and they're one win away from the playoffs. All they had to do, in Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, they just had to win their last game of the regular season, and they punched a ticket into the playoffs. What a time, right? And I was talking about Green Bay Packers back at week 13 where I'm like, there's no way in heck the Green Bay Packers are going to make the playoffs. No way. They're just not. And now they're playing good, but the thing is, even if they do make the playoffs, even if Aaron Rodgers has a great, playoff run, they're still going to lose. They're still going to lose. They'll probably lose again to the San Francisco 49ers or the Dallas Cowboys or the Philadelphia Eagles. Somebody's going to beat the Green Bay Packers in the playoffs. Why? Because I don't trust their defense, and I don't trust all the weapons that Aaron Rodgers has. I just don't think he has the weapons that he used to have, like Davante Adams, who he could use right now. Now, if they did have Davante Adams, I would say, hey, that would be a dark horse to win the Super Bowl. But right now, they don't. They have Alan Lazard. They have, Aaron Jones. He's a great player, but it's just like Randall Cobb. He's a veteran. They need a young superstar in there, and they don't have that. So that's why I'm going against Green Bay in the playoffs. But Minnesota right now, Kirk Cousins, a really bad game, 205 yards passing, 1 touchdown, and 3 picks. Justin Jefferson held to 1 receptions and 15 yards. Shout out to Alexander. He put the clamps on Justin Jefferson. It's a bad game. He let it get to his head, but I think overall this wasn't a playoff game. So if you're the Minnesota Vikings, that's a positive thing out of it, right? It wasn't a playoff game, so you have something better to play for. But KJ Osborne, 59 yards receiving and a touchdown. But Minnesota right now, I'm not really concerned. This game was obvious that Green Bay would win because historically Green Bay owns them in Lambeau Field, so this made sense to me. But overall, Green Bay, like I said, they control their dynasty right now, dude. In Minnesota, they're in already, but I just think for Green Bay, where they come at from like week 12 and week 13 to this point right now, from 1 win away to go to the playoffs, that's huge. So shout out to the Green Bay Packers, shout out to Aaron Rodgers, what a win. And then we got the LA Rams versus the LA Chargers. I went Chargers at 6.5. They covered 31-10. Justin Herbert, 212 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. Austin Eckler, 122 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. Mike Williams, 94 yards receiving. And it was all LA Chargers here. This was an easy pick. The LA Rams, they're done. They got Baker because Matt Stafford got hurt. Baker Mayfield, 132 yards. Cam Akers, 123 yards rushing. And it was all Chargers. And Chargers, they're going to make the playoffs this year. It's going to be interesting to see how deep they run in the playoffs. I don't know which Justin Herbert's going to show up, which defense is going to show up for the Chargers. That's the X factor moving forward for them. But huge win by the LA Chargers. They're in. And then we got the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens were 2-point favorites, but still I went the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Ravens are in, and they missed Lamar yet again. Lamar's been out for a month, but the Pittsburgh Steelers, Kenny Pickett, 168 yards passing, and we saw that touchdown to Najee Harris at the end of the game in the fourth quarter. He extended the play, and these are the type of plays, these are the type of moments where it's like, you got to make these plays if you're a rookie. And Kenny Pickett came up big when he needed to. Shout out to Najee Harris with that toe tab catch in the end zone on the left, that hash. It was great. And these are the plays that you need. So Pittsburgh, man, they're still alive right now. The Pittsburgh Steelers are alive, and they can still make the playoffs this year. And Kenny Pickett, man, coming up big. What a big time, man. And I think for the Ravens, you need Lamar. Lamar needs to come back. I don't know if he's going to be back this week or next week, but he definitely needs to be back by the playoffs. Because we know, without Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens are nothing, dude. They surrounded the organization for Lamar. Everything's been around Lamar, so I think Lamar has to come back. It's a must come back for Lamar, so I hope he's all good. But the Pittsburgh Steelers would have win, and they keep their playoffs alive. Shout out to Kenny Pickett and the Steelers. And then we had the Monday Night Football game. Like I said, the tragic news for the safety, Damar Hamlin. It's really sad. I hope he's okay. Hope his life is okay, and I hope he'll overcome this injury right now, suffering that cardiac arrest on the field. Had to perform CTR. Prayers go out to his family, his friends, his fans, and I think it is more important. We see this game, the game of football, where it is a violent sport. It is violent. I mean, anybody could get blindsided. Anybody could really collapse on the field, and that's just part of the game of football. It's a violent sport, so I hope he's okay. Prayers go out to Damar Hamlin. But, what a weekend. Besides the Monday Night Football game, which was a disaster, but overall, it was a really good game. A lot of good games. But the main pick that I definitely got wrong was definitely betting against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I just didn't believe in them. But right now, Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a threat. And we saw the Cowboys win on Thursday night. So the Dallas Cowboys do not want to go into Tampa for a playoff game. They just don't. So I cannot wait. We got one more week of the NFL. Then we got the playoffs, baby. It's the Clown with Cab show. Let's go!